Welcome to the Orange County Funding Corporation Finance Committee meeting. The time is 4:08. Bill, roll call please.
Yes, Mark Green,
Present.
Jeff Christ,
Here.
Dean Tamburri,
Present.
Linda Muller,
Here.
present for staff, myself, Bill Fioravanti, and Kelly Riley. We also have our AV specialist from Acquisitions Marketing, Billy Iverson here, and we have our New York State Monitor, Anshin, Anthony Bracco, and Brian Sandwich.
Wonderful. All right. Proof of notice of this meeting was duly and properly provided, correct?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. All right. First order, let's work on minutes from the April 24th meeting. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Excellent. How about a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussions?
There's no Linda in this one. That's my only comment. Is there Linda? All right.
Actually, before I go further, is this your
Yes,
first official
that's
meeting?
what it
is. This is.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you, thank you very much.
Thank you. Wonderful. Glad you're here.
Me too.
And looking forward to you taking over next month. Anyway, moving on. We are all in favor of the minutes passing, correct?
Do we vote all in favor? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Silly guy.
We didn't vote.
No, we didn't vote.
We didn't vote. We have
You're
first
asking.
and second. Right. So no comments? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed? Passes?
That's great.
All right. New business. Bill?
Yes, right into our April financials, on page 5. I gotta do a page check, right? We're all on page
Yep.
5, that's, okay, good, terrific. Third column, you have the first 2 columns for your history, your recent history for trending, back to Mark Green's request. So April of 2024, the first section there, actual interest income from our loan program. Our interest earnings from CDs, $166, so that's a total income for the month of $182.11. Into expenses under administrative, our management fee expense, which of course is how we're sharing our expenses between OCFC and IDA. That's broken out later in this packet, as you've probably seen. A bookkeeping, $640 for the month. And down to our insurance expense, as you see, it's been $402.23. Our admin costs totaling $9,634.80. Going down to payroll expenses, down to legal, 61300. We have our Bousquet Holstein charges for the month. That's total expenses for April of $10,255.30 for a loss of $10,073.19. That's the income statement. Next is, you see our transaction list here between the last meeting and this meeting. Essentially what that is. Beyond that is, as I mentioned, the breakdown of the cost share for OCFC for total administration costs, totaling $8,592.57. So you want to clarify page 8 here? Difference on this?
One is for March and one is for April.
Okay, thanks. You see those?
8592 is March.
Yes,
The 6436 is April.
yeah.
And then we get to page 9, looking at our cash and investments. You're seeing the 2 6-month T-bills with JP Morgan, 549,144 and 599,076. And then you see our 12-month CD with Lakeland, $600,000. Then under our bank accounts, checking account for OCFC, $128,300. And the total of the above CDs and treasuries, $1,748,220. So a total of $1,876,519 in cash assets.
A quick question. On the CDs, we don't realize interest until the maturity date, is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Correct.
You won't see that booked until
So-
it's closed.
What happens is you kind of accrue. So let's say it's a 6-month CD. Let's say you invest $100,000 in a CD. That first month, let's say you went to the bank and said, I really need that 100,000 out. You might only get 98,500 out.
Penalty.
As a penalty. And then, but as you, once you kind of get to that 2/3 point, then you kind of break even.
Oh, okay.
So
Got it,
you could
got
get
it.
your money back without a penalty. I'm rounding.
Yeah, I understand.
But you don't get your full interest
Mhm.
until it fully matures.
Got it, thank you.
So,
Okay, next is the resiliency, page 10, our COVID resiliency loan status update. And you'll recall last month, we talked about retiring this report. When it got to the board level and that was discussed, Mark, you may recall that Sue Walsky suggested, she asked about collections efforts, and she asked if we get an update on that, and then after this month, we retire this report. So tomorrow and Friday, I actually am making collections visits and calling a few other
Okay,
ones.
good.
So, and I'll report to you after that, and I think that should satisfy what we need here. And then we do, is we've reminded the whole board, we send out invoices every month to anyone that owes anything at all, so it's not like they don't know, but I need to make those visits and calls, I think, at least another round of that before we retire this, okay? That's that, but you see, otherwise it's somewhat unchanged, we're still kinda at that 89%, even though we're getting a couple small payments. And lastly is something that we did cover last month, but we didn't split it into two policies, one for each. So this is the OCFC policy for the capitalization policy as recommended by our auditors, PKF O'Connor Davies, and again, they provided this language. We reviewed it internally, obviously this committee reviewed it, and Shannon Manisi, our external CFO, recommended approving as well. So we're looking for you to, right, but we are looking for you to formally, since it's one each,
Yeah.
formally recommend to the board approval of it, and we'll do that at the board at 5 o'clock.
Do you need a motion for that?
We do, for this we do, but I think what we're doing, Mark, is we'll approve the financials and then approve the capitalization policy, and then we have the last item
Okay.
there for recurring payments.
all right, so should we approve the financials
Let's
and
do
then we
that.
can discuss,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Is that the proper
I think so.
protocol? All right, so can I get a?
Well, I'm sorry, discuss the details of those financial reports, because I think we should ask those questions now and then.
Well, yeah, does anyone have any questions before we move forward?
On any of
about
the financials
these
so far?
financials?
I think the proper way to do this is make the motion, take a second, and then open it up for discussion.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
That is proper Robert rules.
Happy to help.
Do I have a motion to accept?
Yes, you do have a motion.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Fantastic.
Any discussion?
Any discussions?
There you go.
Anything on your mind?
No.
So the one thing I did wanna talk about was, I wanna ask the question even though I kinda know the answer. Anything on the horizon, opportunity-wise?
I've had a number of prospect no, not so much on OCFC. Linda and I are actually gonna get together soon, and we're gonna start our roadshow, frankly, so that's on OCFC. I will mention that, I recently met with, the CEOs of the IDAs in the entire region, and they're all in the same boat right now.
Oh, really?
It's slow, the activity
That's
is very
interesting.
low. They all seem to attribute it to interest rates. Something I hadn't thought about, but I usually do every few years, is the looming presidential election. So we're kind of sitting on the sidelines a little bit to see what will happen.
Yeah, no, there's, you know, I've been thinking about this since the last time we met, and, I think both organizations are going to have a considerably difficult year as far as income goes, simply because you've run a business and, you know, the things that kind of were in the pipeline 2 years ago, last year, you know, those were planned well before.
Yep.
And so they went through, but now with interest rates where they are, and again, and I don't wanna get political at all, but I think there is a real concern among investors that depends on this election. And whether or not it goes one way or the other is making it's making it difficult for people to make the decisions, to make a decision right now. And so I think, unfortunately, I think it's going to be a quiet year, which nobody really wants.
So, yeah, so Bill, what I was gonna ask onto that question is are they saying for like the fund corporation or for?
No, not so much. So I
You're
am
really
referring
talking
to-
about everything, not just specifically the funding.
No, I think this
and
is,
their-
there's a few issues here, I mean, they may play into this as well, but, we think we need to publicize what we're doing, promote what we're doing more. Linda was one running her organization, Cornerstone Healthcare, and she made overtures here to try and didn't even, and she didn't even get a call back, she didn't even get a meeting. So we have a lot of work to do, I think, when it comes to that, on this side. On the IDA side, I will say, again, my colleagues are seeing the same thing, but I have, just this last month, I have one of our economic development partners, and separately, a local municipal leader. They both told me I should be expecting to hear from an applicant in the next month. So, doesn't always happen though, but I will tell you that. So and again, I've had a number of calls, I've had a number of kind of prospect meetings, but these things take time, and that's mostly what we're seeing, is that even things that they're planning to do, or they can do with our support, they're kind of holding back right now.
I can tell you what, we're seeing right now that we're going to be busy, but we're not right now.
Right.
We see a lot of work coming our way in the horizon. The jobs are currently bidding, but they're not to bid yet. But there's, right now, it's kind of quiet.
I tell you who's really busy and doesn't ever stop.
When you say that, like, are we, like, what, and certainly don't
No.
disclose anything,
No.
but like, when you say down the road, are we talking 6
No,
months?
no,
or-
weeks.
Oh, weeks.
Maybe Newburgh School's gonna, they have like a $100 million building they're putting up. Mid-Hudson Site's got a huge, Dazzing's got a huge project coming up. Orange Bosie's got a big job coming up.
Okay, but those
Within
aren't.
weeks.
but those aren't-
Not in our.
Yeah.
No, I understand, but to what you're saying though, it's all, to me, it's all, things that are starting to move or whatever.
Yeah, no.
I would think that,
Yeah, I know you're looking at it from that way, but I'm looking at it business-wise, and those are all,
there's some
government
warehouses
funded.
that are still going up.
I think that we're gonna see quietness until January. Projects are gonna come, regardless of what the election is, it will be just the terms and the conditions on how they do their projects. I think you're gonna be very quiet until next year.
Yeah.
For anything outside of a municipality, a school district, or anything else that's receiving funds from a different source.
There's still a couple warehouses that are going up.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but I think those were already committed
Done.
to.
They were,
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? So that's the concern, is that
New business.
the pipeline, like in a sales kind of
Yeah, the funnel.
format, like your pipeline is getting very dry because you just aren't gonna have people that are gonna start making decisions to
Yep.
over next year, I hope.
I will say that, because I talked to everyone, bankers, everyone, how's business, this, that, and the other. Engineers and architects are still slammed. They can't find enough help, and they're doing a lot of work. So I think that's that pre-work, right, the build-up that works into it, that part of that funnel. I think that's a good sign that it's not drying up, like we're not gonna be done with
Could be
construction.
just budgeting and whatever, and for that time frame you guys were
Yeah.
referring to.
But pulling the trigger is what I
I
think.
think
we can raise.
the IDA's responsibility is to get the word out about what we can do, how do we do it, how do we partner, how do we do our work, in preparation of things that are gonna happen.
Absolutely.
So I think that's, we don't go quiet because there's not a lot to do. We get aggressive to go out and talk about what
Well,
we can do.
Now is the time, right? When you're busy, you're too busy to do some of those other things.
Yeah.
And so now, I think this is the year to plant seeds, so to
Yeah,
speak.
for sure.
Absolutely.
Is to get out there and tell our story, and you've got,
I agree. For some reason, I expressed this to Jeff recently. We're slow, but I'm not slow, and we're not slow in the office. But a lot of projects we have balls in the air. But yeah, I agree. We're just expecting not to have super activity for the next remainder of the year, probably, as Linda said. All right, we're still on financials.
yeah.
We didn't call the question.
No. Any other questions?
For
Any other
vote.
discussions?
You have to call the question about the financials.
Meaning, ask the
All in
vote. Ask.
Well, I know, any further questions about any comments? I get it there. Any other questions about the financials?
I might just point out I think basically all the expenses are allocations from our bigger pot
Yes, correct.
with the Orange
Exactly.
County IDA.
The 16% that we
Yes.
allocated in OCFC.
So they all make sense. On page 6, those are, except for the second item, Boscat Holstein is direct and RBT is direct
Yes.
to the vendor.
Yes, correct. From OCFC,
Yep.
correct.
Mhm.
Right? Hell yeah.
And then you get the management fee in there.
Which is a double.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
It should say that. says March.
Is that the most-
Or the amount is a double?
Well, it says right there.
Oh, okay, I got it. Yeah, I got the,
You good?
yeah, the way it's laid out is just, I find it a little bit confusing. It itemizes March and not April. April's mixed in with the one together.
Can you clarify that?
You see?
I see what you're saying,
So,
okay.
It's not a big deal, I was just trying to.
Well, RBT is the one that writes out the checks for us, and they, put the March and April together to come out to be the 15,029. So if you add the
There's two.
85, 92, 57 plus the 64, 36,
Yes.
89, that comes out to be the 15,000.
Yeah.
So it's in as 15 because that's what the check is written.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But she has the sheets here, right?
Yeah.
The form of the sheets
Yeah.
we get.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah, you-
So I'm good.
You see that,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we're good. Any other questions, any more discussions? Then can we get a vote to approve?
Sure.
I'm in favor.
All in favor?
Aye. Anyone object? We're
Motion
good.
carries. Terrific. Capitalization policy?
Can we get a
I'll make a motion.
motion to approve the capitalization policy specific for the FC?
Second.
Fantastic. Any discussion?
Recommended.
All for?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? We're good.
Very good. Last is the authorization to authorize staff to pay recurring bills before they're approved by this committee. We did this last month, but we failed to do it for OCFC, so we just
Oh,
need to do it
okay.
here. That's why it's on this agenda and not on idea. So we
I
are looking
would
for.
make a motion
authorization.
approving that.
I'll second.
The only
comments?
discussion I had was that we talked about, did we talk about
Dollar
an
amount Sue
amount?
Balsky did.
She had asked in there, and then when we put a number in, it may not matter, yes or no, because when we had said a number, it sounded correct, but it didn't cover a couple of the items that we had that were reoccurring. And then we discussed it, so I don't know if there's a number here or not, or what, but
There's not.
that's the only thing, Sue's gonna have
You're
to
absolutely right.
do it twice. but-
Doesn't need to be tabled.
Oh, there's 5,000 or more is what we did, but.
And is that enough to do the reoccurring, are these reoccurring? Or is this like this, is this all reoccurring here, or this doesn't?
That
This
would wait
doesn't
until the
matter.
month, that would wait until the meeting, that one, the management
Okay.
fee.
But
It's
then-
just like
it-
recurring, which we
yeah.
don't really have much of OCFC, it's,
Right,
you know,
it may be plenty for this OCFC, but it may not be because the rent was in there.
6,000 alone.
Yeah. So,
I think Sue said 7,500 last.
Yeah, we used a
Yeah.
couple of numbers, we went back and forth on a couple of numbers.
I'd be in favor of 7,500.
It's really so there's a timing thing, so they can get the bills out in a timely manner, that was the
Right.
issue. And as long as we had seen them. so-
Now, our general counsel, we confirmed this again this week, has said that that kind of approval just comes from finance committee. So I think I would suggest, if you're okay with it, amending it as you see fit,
Mhm.
approving it, and then
Sure.
Mark will report on that later.
Mhm.
I wanna get it right.
Are we good with 7,500?
Yes.
I'm one who would tell you to be a little bit higher, because you never know when something's gonna come in. I'm much more comfortable with 10,000.
Though I will say, I appreciate that, but what Dean is saying on OCFC, which is all we're talking about this one,
It's not gonna happen,
no.
never, that you can anticipate.
Yeah,
Not- not before
but if it
January
does,
1st of
then-
25.
Committee.
Then we should talk about it.
Okay.
Exactly. And this is good till January of 25. It's
Okay, got it.
through 12/31/24.
So,
Jeff, you wanna make an amendment?
To the 7,500, yes.
Okay.
I'll make that motion or amend my motion from earlier.
okay. Second,
Second.
Dean seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes.
Time to adjourn. With a vote.
All right,
I'll make the motion to adjourn. Do you need it?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
There